Everyone seems to have an idea of what this city is, thanks or no thanks to the American myth-making machine and the long arm of Hollywood's cultural influence. Ahead of this shoot, I asked a couple hundred people on my social media what the first thing to come to mind is when they hear Los Angeles. The vast majority answered with things like cars, freeways, sprawl, smog. That's some tough brand perception for this city. I know that things used to be different here. This city had an epic streetcar system back in the day. I also know that neighborhoods can and will exist and thrive despite sprawl and disconnect. But I'm wondering if Los Angeles is too vast to zero in on, too mythical to reveal its truths to me. More than most cities I've taken you to, I am gonna have to peel back some serious layers on my quest to find the true soul of this place. Safe to say, I have my work cut out for me. Koreatown, Chinatown, Thai Town, historic Filipino town, Little Tokyo, Little Armenia, Little Ethiopia. Los Angeles is home to over 13 million people who collectively make up one of the most multicultural places in the world. As the second largest city in the US, that can't come as much of a surprise. With over 80 neighborhoods making up a rich, diverse hub, LA's polycentrism is certainly its greatest asset, especially today, as the city is reinventing the art of sharing its resources. But overcoming the many underlying inequalities is no easy task. Rents here have risen faster than incomes, and the housing hardships have now erupted into a full-blown homelessness crisis. Now, some claim that LA is entering a new phase of development. Voters recently approved a new public transport plan, one of the most ambitious public works initiatives in U.S. history, that will expand rail networks, metro systems, and bike lanes to better connect its people. Angelenos have stated it loud and clear. They are ready for change. But one question remains. Will their city, the city of dreams, be able to keep its promises?
One of the reasons why I love Los Angeles, it's got the world's biggest problems. And it makes it a fantastic place to think about how can we work together to make this a better city.
Manuel Pastor's research focuses on the economic, environmental, and social conditions facing low-income urban communities in Los Angeles, and the social movements seeking to change those realities. You're looking at the map of LA and you chose this spot. I gotta hear why exactly here.
Well, what this spot represents is both the old Los Angeles and the new Los Angeles. The new Los Angeles is a place of interracial, interethnic cooperation, trying to bring more social justice to the city, a place where instead of worshiping our cars, we're much more likely now to get on our buses and our rail. And instead of suburban sprawl, a lot of the development is occurring in downtown, and these older neighborhoods like Echo Park are being revitalized, right?
Right.
So you will, in this neighborhood, find an old taqueria, a taco stand, right next to a hipster coffee shop, right next to a vegan restaurant. The threat, of course, is too much development, too much gentrification leads to displacement of the people who have lived here for a very long time.
As you might expect, new developments are popping up in large numbers across the city. Okay, some of it is carried out in the name of revitalization, hoping to attract new residents, specifically in the downtown core. But gentrification also widens the gap in the income inequality between newcomers and local residents.
The way it's kind of worked is, you know, as cities have become the sort of centers of the global economy, they're attracting more and more creatives, more and more talent, and it can lead to improvement in the neighborhood, better stores, healthier food, lots of things that residents want, right? But the concern is if you're a longtime resident who sort of stuck it out through the tough times, will you be able to enjoy it when the good times arrive?
Yeah.
There's a slogan of a group in South LA that's quite worried about this, which is better neighborhood, same neighbors.
Right.
So they're trying to figure out
slogan.
how it is that you can help a neighborhood come up, be welcome to new people coming, but make sure that you've got the kind of rent stabilization measures, affordable housing supports for employment, et cetera, so that residents can stay as the neighborhood improves. Los Angeles is kind of America on steroids, right? So that inequality is even more dramatic here. The top has gone up more, and the bottom has really fallen.
Inequity has divided Los Angeles along ethnic and economic lines. In Bel Air, the median household income is over $200,000, while in neighborhoods like University Park or Chinatown, it's closer to $20,000. That is an astounding spread between citizens who only live a few kilometers away from one another. Los Angeles has always been a segregated city, and many still see it as a patchwork of disparate neighborhoods without any real collective identity. So here's what I'm thinking. Could this city's diversity maybe help it create the sense of unity that it so desperately needs?
When people think about the sort of mishmash of cultures that is Los Angeles, they think of the American metaphor of a melting pot. But a melting pot sort of has the image of everything melting away, of differences being erased. Instead, I think what's going on in Los Angeles is the new America. That is a place where cultures maintain and persist, but also mishmash. So I think we're seeing a lot of distinction, but a lot of trying to come together.
James, how you doing, man?
Hey, Michael, how you doing?
Good to see you.
Sparachi Plaza. This is kind of the center for Latino urbanism, as they call it. And it really kind of showcases the way Latinos are really transforming LA in a really positive way with their bodies.
Raised in the Latino neighborhood of Boyle Heights, James was inspired to develop Latino Urbanism, an original concept that empowers citizens by injecting their own cultural experience into the urban planning process.
People come in from Latin America, you know, how do they walk and get around here? But then you arrive in the middle of car-centric LA, and there's no pedestrian infrastructure here. So it's all this DIY urban design culture that's kind of what we call rasquacha, kind of do-it-yourself, that really kind of just reshaping these parts of the city.
I'm just looking over your shoulder. It looks like a little piece of Mexico. You got like cool murals, a little cafe.
These murals go back to the Spanish conquest of the New World. They tell a story about a place. Storytelling through the visual landscape.
Urban planner and community advocate, James leads what he calls sensory walks, where locals get to experience their hometown on foot. And believe me, this is a unique opportunity in this city of cars and drivers.
Activating the senses on the urban landscape, noticing things maybe you don't notice before. But what is the purpose of it?
Well, it's to really kind of empower people to ask the right questions in the planning process.
Right.
I think people just don't know what to ask. It's not about the planner, it's about their life and their story, and how does planning talk about this? How do you talk about your story to build the right city?
Right.
And how that can be interjected into the transportation plan, a housing plan, a park plan. So down here, this is one of the oldest working class neighborhoods in LA, probably from the 1900s. It's the most interesting because it has all these substandard front yards.
Yeah.
You have all these Latinos moving into places like Los Angeles. So a lot of them, you know, they miss the social cohesion from Latin America they get from hanging out in the plaza.
Right.
So they turn their front yard into plazas, you know, little mini plaza. They put the tables and chairs. They put in all the little potted plants. So it becomes this kind of impromptu plaza in the American front yard.
Right.
And we see a series of them. Then you start building all this kind of social cohesion in the community from these front yards. Hola.
Hola. Hello.
Vidia? Carnitas? Okay. Carnitas.
In the 60s and 70s, so-called progress led to the expansion of massive highway networks all around LA. While rich neighborhoods like Beverly Hills could afford to put up a fight and resist these projects, the poorer neighborhoods were, of course, powerless. Over the years, Boyle Heights was fragmented by the addition of 4 freeways, including 2 massive interchanges less than 4 kilometers apart. Many people were relocated as these barriers split the social fabric and scarred the physical landscape. But Latino urbanism built up local resilience. Residents have claimed their space by repurposing it through a DIY approach. Life-size thinking at its finest.
So this Latino urbanism, does it only exist in like residential neighborhoods like this, or are there other examples of it around LA?
Yeah, it exists in many parts of LA, especially in commercial districts. Let me take you to the fashion district.
What is now referred to as the Fashion District was once a land of sweatshops and manufacturers, with alleys acting as large-scale clothing markets. Fast forward, and now the place has become this, a modern cultural hub, 90 square blocks of retail, entertainment, and urban life.
So this is where Latinos shop now, all over the county, all over Southern California, from northern Mexico, from all over the states.
Wow.
It's all about these sensory experiences. You have, Latinos here, but you have African Americans, you have Asians, you have everybody here.
Right.
And Middle Easterners, so everybody kind of shares this kind of urban experience on the street.
How is this Latino urbanism?
There's no storefronts here. It's very fluid, indoor, outdoor. It embraces the weather. This is not a shopping mall, it's an outdoor space.
Yeah.
It's an alleyway that's been transformed.
This beats any shopping mall in America right now, man.
Yeah. This is what that used to look like.
This?
Yeah, this alley here was what that alley used to look like, 40 years ago.
Damn, that is a transformation, right?
Transformation of an alley. Just really simple interventions. But again, it's about people's needs for clothing, for things.
Yeah.
Their memories of shopping and their aspirations.
Yeah.
People shop for an aspiration, right?
Yeah.
They come out here and buy it.
I mean, how does this impact, like, the big LA? I mean, what do you think?
Well, it's kind of writing a new story about LA. If people think about LA being people in cars, driving on freeways, and being that kind of life. But now you realize that this really kind of vibrant pedestrian world coming up from the roots, coming up from the cracks of the asphalt.
Right.
People need stuff, they can do it, and nobody really cares. It just happens organically. They have a really solid, kind of authentic type of meaning here. Mm-hmm. It's not we're trying to fix this place up and make it cute. People are actually surviving on these streets. It kind of shows how Los Angeles can readopt itself and become a different city in a couple of years.
Yeah, like the sum of all its parts.
Yep.
Right.
Although LA is a diverse mosaic of cultures that sometimes bind and sometimes clash, so many people are facing the same basic challenge: housing. It's one of the city's biggest and most urgent problems. The stats reveal a perfect storm of affordable housing shortfalls, rising rents, and dropping incomes that have been spiraling out of control. This, my friends, is nothing short of a crisis. Households earning less than half the median income spend more than 70% of that income on rent. And this is leaving many families one rent increase or one missed paycheck away from losing their home. But one local company here is working hard to fix that. Stephen Dietz is the founder of United Dwelling, a company that converts garages and ADUs, or accessory dwelling units, into small rental homes.
Explain to me what it is you've created here.
That's exactly what it is. It's a great little tiny house. And what's happened is the state legislature has changed the rules so that anybody who has a single family home could build a second unit called an accessory dwelling unit or an ADU.
Here's how it works. United Dwelling signs a 15 to 25-year lease agreement with the homeowner. The company then pays for the new building and the removal of the garage. The result is a brand new home, rented to a qualified applicant and priced below market value, sometimes as much as 20%. The generated income is then split between the homeowner and United Dwelling. This all taps into what has been unexploited potential for many decades, turning single-family units into more housing for more people within the city. LA has roughly 500,000 single-family homes, So building an ADU on just 1% of them means 5,000 new houses.
We start by building a brand new foundation with
Right.
footings and raising it above grade, and then we built this whole new structure.
Wow.
This unit and all the other ones we build are zero net energy and zero carbon. Nice high ceilings, 9-foot ceilings, full set of appliances, bathroom over there in the corner, and then over here, there's a full washer and dryer.
Oh, wow. Hidden in there. Cool.
Yeah.
It's cool space management, man.
And because it pays for the construction, United Dwelling offers an interesting option to modest income homeowners who simply couldn't afford to finance this kind of project otherwise. At the end of the lease, United Dwelling recovers its capital with a small profit, and the accessory dwelling unit is handed over to the homeowner.
This is a solution, I think, that can greatly address the affordable housing challenges in many cities, and we're not going to be the only one serving that market. We actually set United Dwelling up so that we can help others, and we've had a few developers reach out and say, can I use your construction techniques, or can you help me with the database solutions you figured out? So we're really designed to partner with others who want to do this in other communities. We have about a year of work to really get the process nailed before we can do this outside of this market, but then I expect we'll be supporting a bunch of folks in it.
Right.
Building more affordable homes in LA is absolutely essential. The market keeps rising, and many people are struggling. The pressure on housing, of course, does nothing to help those at the bottom of the economic curve. And this, in turn, has fanned the flames of another major crisis in the city: homelessness. There are tents in almost every neighborhood. There are more than 36,000 homeless people in the city of LA, and nearly 59,000 across LA County. Between 2012 and 2020, the number of homeless people in Los Angeles County increased by 75%. All those numbers are incredibly depressing. In the past, most of the homeless population was concentrated in an area known as Skid Row, a square-kilometer area located a stone's throw from City Hall.
We literally here on Skid Row were 9 blocks, which is basically 0.9 miles from the Ritz-Carlton building, and then 8 blocks away, you got absolute poverty.
Mel took a wrong turn that led him to the heart of Skid Row back in 2010. He was so stunned by the number of homeless people roaming the streets that he thought he was on a film set. Little did he know that this was the reality for many marginalized Angelenos. As a newcomer to the city, Mel decided to do something about it. He founded Monday Night Mission, a nonprofit organization that feeds the homeless every night of the week.
If it was 10 years ago and you asked me what was the cause of homelessness, I would have told you it was a mixture of mental illness and substance abuse disorder. 10 years later, 2020, that's not the case. Now the majority of the people becoming homeless, 71% and above, are becoming a homeless because they can't afford to rent an apartment. In the city of LA, they've recognized 600,000 households where they pay 90% of their income towards rent.
90%.
Wow, and that is literally, it's literally 1 week you miss a couple hours at work, or it could be you take a half day off because you're sick, you won't be able to pay the rent. And the way the numbers are set up, for every percent the rent increases in LA, 1,000 people become homeless the following year. But the unfortunate thing is, in LA, there's an average rent increase of 5% every year, if not more. And that's what's driving this homelessness. That's the problem. There's no help for those people about to be homeless. Mm-hmm. There's only help after the fact. It's not even a lack of a safety net. It's a complete breakdown of the system.
The state of homelessness in LA has evolved over time. Some people live in their cars, workers live in their campers, families live in tents. You get the picture. But in Skid Row, the concentration of homeless people is so high that at this point, it represents a community in and of itself.
Is there absolute anarchy, or is there a sort of a community village structure that they intuitively have created?
That's a good question. So just like anywhere else, it is a community. The only difference is they don't have any ownership of the land. So they create their own spaces, they respect their own boundaries, they clean their own spaces. Here, people don't approach you because they think, oh, you can help me make the next movie. Here, people approach you because they want to know how you feel. They want to know, Michael, how's your day? And that's the beauty of it. In all of this mess, as sad as it is, it kind of gave us space for genuinity in LA.
Some of us born right here in Skid Row.
You were born here, sir?
I'm a Skid Row baby, my own Maple.
All right.
Been here since 1964. Nobody know what really happened.
Thank
He
you,
was
sir.
here. That's one of the ones that was here back then. What are you guys doing?
Shooting a documentary
On?
cities around the world. So we're doing a little piece on LA.
I want you to do a story on my spot. I provide, see, I'm not an organization, I'm just me.
That's just you. What's
But
your name?
My name's Ross.
Nice to meet
Wright.
you, Ross.
But I have what I call Sports Appreciation Center. For people that don't have places to watch sports.
All right.
They come to my man cave and watch it.
After 7 years feeding the homeless, Mel realized that people needed more than just food. They also needed access to basic hygiene services. So he co-founded Shower of Hope, which operates 5 mobile showers over 14 locations around LA. Its goal is to simply offer people dignity through cleanliness. And so far, it's working.
Can we have a look at the showers?
Yes.
Perfect.
So, Michael, this is Kat.
How you doing?
She's one of our site
You,
coordinators.
pleasure. Cool. So what are you doing? You're cleaning?
Yeah.
How
all
often
the
do you have to
time.
clean them?
After every shower.
After every shower, you clean it, right?
Yes.
All right. Cool.
So that's anywhere between like 8, 11. This is a busy site, so it's about 31, 41 people.
Okay.
You know, I used to be homeless too. I was homeless for 8 years.
Wow.
And in May will be like 2 years. My boyfriend and I have a house now. You gonna help us out, Michael?
I'd love to help you out. Yeah.
Okay, that's
You show the way.
All right.
They've always let you know that you're important to them.
They make a cake.
And they made me
How
a cake.
awesome is that?
I just hope that, this is my year.
Yeah.
This is when I'm going to get off the street. This is going to happen this year.
Wow. Done. Boom.
Right on. Thank you very much.
You know what, they're important for us, to be able to come and clean ourselves and, shower like regular people.
Yeah.
Seriously, when they come out of the shower, some of them glow. I mean, it's just that feeling of, I feel so great, thank you very much. And they just leave with a smile on their face.
This is such a large-scale issue for this city, but also this country. I mean, what do you think it will take to fix it?
We provide a great service. We give people cleanliness, we give people dignity. But what we're doing is just helping people sustain themselves on the street. We are not a permanent solution. The permanent solution is housing. Unless we start really building affordable housing in the next year to 2 years, this is going to be the norm everywhere.
Los Angeles is full of surprises. Look at that. That is a beautiful building, a heritage building with amazing detail, right out to the sidewalk, like we did for millennia in cities. The invention of the automobile, it changed so many things about the ways we think about our cities, the way we plan them as well, but it changed really everything, including architecture. We know now that pedestrians and cyclists can register 67 features on the urban landscape for every 30 meters they travel through a city. That's why we had great detail on buildings up high, but when the car came into our cities, everything changed. We know that motorists can register 6 or 7 features as they fly down a street at 50 kilometers per hour. That's not very many at all, which, come here, look at this. This is why we ended up with something like the strip mall. But this is a result of car-centric architecture, and it really started here in the 1920s. Developers and architects saw all these cars coming into the city, and they realized that things had to change. You have to be simplified. So the buildings have a smaller footprint, provide parking out front. The facades are larger. The lettering is simplified. The letters are bigger as well to attract the attention of the motorists. There's some places that have a huge donut on the roof or a huge chicken advertising donuts, chicken, large letters just saying liquor or cigarettes or whatever. billboards, another example as well. This is Los Angeles. This is ground zero for car-centric architecture. So in my industry in urbanism, there are certain people who stand out. Gurus, if you were, somebody who takes one topic and becomes the leading expert on it. And I'm excited to meet my next guest.
Donald Shoup has spent decades studying a much overlooked aspect of transportation, parking. It's a fundamental component of land use that people take for granted. Donald came up with 3 key recommendations for cities. 1. Charge fair market prices for on-street parking. 2. Spend the revenue to benefit the metered areas. And 3. Remove off-street parking requirements. But yeah, we're all thinking the same thing, aren't we? Is this really going to work in a car-centric city like LA?
99% of drivers said they parked free at the end of every trip.
Right.
Just because the driver doesn't pay for parking doesn't mean the cost goes away. Somebody has to pay for it, and that somebody is everybody, including people who are too poor to own a car. It goes against everything that we say we want, clean air, less traffic congestion, and now climate change. And I thought, well, I could make a contribution in trying to figure out how to solve this problem. My recommendation for all cities around the world is to get the price of curb parking right. And by which I mean right is the lowest price you could charge and still have 1 or 2 open spaces.
Let's have a look at the parking meter. I want to see what it costs. See if it says on there. Does it tell us the price?
Here's somebody who's not paying.
Oh, right, okay. All right, so I can see here that there's a 2-hour limit and it costs $2 an hour. You're telling me that that's too low because it's filled up? What should the parking cost?
It depends on the market.
Right, okay.
See, it depends on demand at the time. It's different at different times of day. But I think I could look at this and say the price is too low. And it should be enforced. And parking enforcement is quite lax.
Once the appropriate price is established for parking, the next order of business is to redistribute that money properly so that it benefits the city and the people who actually live there. Shoup suggests investing the money back into the neighborhood in which it was collected. Fix the sidewalks, plant more trees, offer more Wi-Fi, even give free bus passes to everyone who works in an area where there are parking meters. Ensuring this money goes to practical and local use is a key element.
Like here, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parking meters. So this is one block in LA, in Westwood Village, and there's 5. That is half of the block is reserved for just 5 humans, really.
Not humans, empty cars.
Empty cars, true, right? Yes. So half of the block is for 5 empty cars for car storage. Then there's a bit of a yellow curb here, and then the bus stop begins, the red curb, right?
Yeah, that's about the same amount as for the 5 parked cars.
5 empty cars and like a really long bus stop because you have a lot of buses in this neighborhood, right?
Yeah, that's right. You know, cars have colonized the curb lane for so long. Most people think the cars own them, but now the world has changed. There's so much demand for loading.
Yeah.
For Uber and Lyft, for drop-offs.
Oh, so that's Uber and Lyft also. When I see loading, I think it's like packages, but it's also for dropping off and stuff. Okay.
That's right. So how do you measure the productivity of the curb? And I began looking at things. Well, how many people are these cars actually serving versus how many people are getting on and off the bus?
Yeah.
And there's so many more people being delivered to the curb by the bus. One of the conclusions might be, well, this should be a bus lane.
Mm. All of this brings up something much bigger. Zoning laws. Yeah, they exist in many cities around the world, this concept where developers have to provide a certain number of parking spots for every new building. In LA, however, this means that there are people living without a roof over their heads, but there's no way a fancy condo building can pop up without parking. That is just plain wrong.
You know, I think that a city where everybody pays for everybody else's free parking is a fool's paradise. I think, what could we have if we didn't have parking requirements and just allowed the developer to estimate how many parking spaces the customers would want and be willing to pay for?
Mm.
But I think that these ideas are applicable from westward to the world. That all cities that I go to say we're unique. But when it comes to parking, I think they're all alike. And I think good ideas will work in all of them.
Creating a balance between cars and public transportation allows the city to repurpose public areas so that everyone can benefit, not just the car owners. And that means a massive lifestyle change for many Angelenos.
The people of this city lose 100 hours a year stuck in traffic. There is so much potential, however. The streets are incredibly wide. They could reestablish their streetcar system, put in more rail, better buses, better bicycle infrastructure as well. All the potential is here, and yet every time you come to Los Angeles, it is just Los Angeles.
Because here's the situation right now. In the metropolitan area, where more than 13 million people live, around 77% commute by car. Some 11% of the urban population uses public transport. Luckily for LA, there are creative locals who are trying to change that.
Eli,
Hey,
what's up?
well, I thought this was a really interesting intersection because you sort of have what I would consider Los Angeles of a generation or more ago, but you also have the future of Los Angeles and my vision for the future of Los Angeles. Because you've got a bus lane right here, a bicycle lane. You've also got 2 trains that actually intersect right here. You got a mobility hub with bicycles. So it's this transformation of Los Angeles that I think is really cool.
Eli works for Move LA, an organization that is campaigning for the development of a comprehensive, diverse, robust, clean, and financially sound public transportation system for Los Angeles County.
One of those, new things that other cities are doing is obviously, and we're doing it here now.
Awesome, yeah.
Is our shared bike system.
Yeah.
So they built out this whole docked network, and they've actually been doing a pretty decent job of integrating it with the system. Now transfers are free, so if you take, for instance, the train or a bus, and then you want to transfer to a bike, the transfer is actually free. It wasn't.
Whoa, what?
Yeah, so they're doing a lot better to integrate it and to provide it in more places around the city, so that it's an actual real network, so you can go from someplace like Echo Park or Silver Lake to downtown and still be able to dock it. Yeah, so, I mean, we're doing the right stuff. It's just, this city is big, man.
Los Angeles County made urban planning history in late 2016 when a sales tax measure, known as Measure M, was passed in order to generate $120 billion over 40 years to expand rail, rapid bus, and bike networks.
Every time you purchase something, a durable good, go out to a restaurant, buy a sweater, buy a car or not, or buy a bicycle, you're going to be paying into the public transportation system, and that's invested throughout the county. So we're building out this incredible rail network. We're almost doubling it. It's currently at about 75 miles. It's going to be 150 miles.
So there are promises to reduce congestion and improve the efficiency of transportation. But can the city deliver on that promise? And will people actually make use of this new and improved transit system?
To go from a place 12 years ago where we had no money for any major capital projects to this happening, it's a huge shift. It's a huge shift.
Cool. The improvement in the rail system is awesome, but the biggest problem still resides in the bus system. Most residents live nowhere near a rail line, but there might be hope. The city is investing $750 million in dedicated bus lanes. Now, will all of this actually be enough?
In my research, I've been reading that bus ridership has been falling in LA for 5 years. Little uptake last year, but what's the situation with buses in the city?
Ridership has gone down, that's a fact. But the reason this bus is so packed is because it's rush hour.
Yeah.
But there's only one every 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes during rush hour. So 70% of Metro's ridership is on the bus. And of those riders, 90% of them earn less than $30,000 a year. So it's really the backbone of the system. The challenge has been is that the last time they looked at all the service and looked at all the routes and reoriented it for today's ridership was 25 years ago.
Wow.
More than a generation.
Yeah.
So we're going through this process right now that was funded by Measure M, called the Next Gen Bus Plan, where they're looking at the whole system and how people travel, where they live, where they need to go, where the jobs are, and saying, okay, let's adjust this route to provide more frequent service so that people can actually get to the destination they need to get to on time, so I can get home to have dinner, with my family.
To move forward and improve these conditions, to make way for faster bus lanes and bike lanes, the city is getting in its own way, because it's hard to teach new tricks to a very car-centric city. But hey, with a little cooperation and an open mind, change is possible. I've seen it happen.
We actually want to make this whole system free in Los Angeles. That's like our advocacy goal, Move LA. We're starting with students and seniors, but we think that we can actually get to a system that is completely free for everybody in Los Angeles, which would be transformational. And so that's how we change the conversation from a car culture to a public transportation, complete streets, bicycle, pedestrian, infrastructure. Yeah.
As LA continues to rethink its infrastructure, new opportunities will inevitably open up when it comes to design and architecture. And I'm on my way to meet someone who has a life-sized vision for the future of his massive city.
Christopher.
How are you?
Good. Nice to meet you. Pleasure. Nice to meet you. In front of the iconic City Hall.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah. All right, so I see a lot of cities creating new positions because we're thinking differently. I'm wondering what the chief design officer is going to do with a city that, for me, is really over-engineered and has been for decades.
That's a great way to think of it, and actually nobody's asked the question quite that way. Much of what we have to do is about unmaking before we can make this new city.
Christopher came to City Hall from the Los Angeles Times, where he served as architecture critic, writing extensively about public space and civic architecture, both in Southern California and around the world. In his new role, he helps bring a unified vision to projects that are shaping the urban landscape of Los Angeles.
Certainly in my network, there's hype about Los Angeles, about the mayor, about the things that are happening, but this is a city that was made on hype. So how much of it is it, political peacocking and we're gonna change LA, and how much of it is actually happening on the surface?
The history of Los Angeles is a history of myth-making, boosterism, selling ourselves both here and to the rest of the world, selling this idea of endless expansion and growth primarily, and this idea that growth is a way to solve all of our problems. And that's why I think all of the changes that we're trying to make to the city have to begin with thinking about how every element that we put into the right-of-way has to be thinking about the climate crisis, or designed, equipped to take on the climate crisis. So there's a lot of talk about decarbonization, of course, walkability, pedestrian amenities, innovative multifamily housing, transit, of course, reversing some of the, let's say, ways in which the 20th century city over-engineered or overstepped. And so we have consistently gotten a mandate and funding from the public to really rethink the city in a fundamental way. That doesn't mean it'll happen overnight, but we do have that kind of wind at our back and momentum, I would say.
So how much focus is there on climate change here in your work and here in this city? Is it something that people recognize as important? Are you advanced compared to maybe the national narrative in this country?
I would say yes, very much so. In LA, because of our geography, we have to think about and design strategies against sea level rise on the coast, but also much further inland, and the problem is drought, extreme heat, wildfire. So from my point of view, in terms of design, it's really thinking about how the design of the public realm in particular can temper the most extreme effects of climate change. And that's a complete turnaround from the way in which we've designed the public realm in this city, which was so much about cars. So those people who can't afford to duck into an Uber or a Lyft when it gets really hot, or can't afford to have a private car or waiting at a bus stop, those are the Angelenos that we're really thinking about, who are in some ways at the front lines of the climate crisis, and we really want to put that population front and center in our design strategy.
Transforming the landscape with better design and design thinking can help LA become a greener, more resilient city in the face of climate change. And a very simple solution stands roughly 30 meters above our heads: trees.
A lot of the preconceived notions about this city for people like me who don't live here is asphalt jungle, congestion, freeways, that image of the place. But I don't really associate Los Angeles with trees in any way, shape, or form. I used to live here too,
Yeah.
and I don't remember trees, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that is the preconceived notion. It's actually the largest urban forest in the country.
As LA's chief forestry officer, Rachel Mallarich spearheads the development of a citywide urban forest management plan, pushing for a shared vision for Los Angeles' urban forest.
Michael Lewis is with the LA Conservation Corps doing tree planting across the city.
LA's mayor has two specific goals for the city. One is planting 90,000 trees in a year. The other is to increase tree canopy by at least 50% by 2028 in areas where there is little shade. In order to achieve this plan, the city is partnering with different NGOs, like the LA Conservation Corps, a youth development program that gives young Angelenos opportunities to develop practical skill sets through public work and education. The program pays it forward by improving the quality of life for both its participants and the wider community, and focuses on projects that protect the environment.
We may have a lot of trees, but we still don't have enough of the benefits and protections that trees provide by having areas covered by that canopy. We don't have enough big trees, and the trees are not distributed equally across the city. If you want to look at a map of, low to high income areas and other vulnerability factors, and then overlay tree canopy, you look at the low areas and they line up with those income areas more often than not.
Right.
Again, these areas where you have people that may be working 2 or 3 jobs, that are worried about safety, worried about having jobs sometimes, and food security. Also not having shade is just really unfair.
Right.
Every neighborhood should have access to tree canopy for all the benefits it provides.
Okay, now we're in LA. Come on, I gotta ask you about the palms, right?
Yes.
The iconic
Of course
skinny
you do.
palms. That's like the LA that everybody on the planet sees, right? I mean, so no cars, this is LA. You gotta totally check for cars. So what do you see when you look down this street at that, treescape?
Yeah. I see that I've got this lovely row of the trunks of the trees, but there's no shade. Whereas in a parkway of that size, I could put a tree in there that would probably at maturity be close to touching the trees across the street. It could be an umbrella of shade. We have a palm tree right here. The amount of shade that it provides is just, the width of the, Here I am, I'm in the shade.
Yeah, right.
And that's about it, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, they're very iconic.
Right.
They were planted for the 1932 Olympics. I would never come in here and just, they're all going, no.
Yeah.
But can we intermix the palms with shade trees? It would need to be a transition over time with conversation and community input into that design. What does the space look like? And how does it interact with other projects happening in the area? So we're about to leave Koreatown and get into Hancock Park, which is one of the more affluent neighborhoods in Los Angeles. And we still have pretty narrow planting spaces here, but as you get further into this neighborhood, the planting areas are much larger. There are front yards with trees. If you look on a Google Earth satellite view, it goes from gray to green.
This neighborhood. Ooh, nice. How do we do this all over the city in the low-income neighborhoods?
A lot of these communities are reliant upon public transportation or, walking in their community to get where they need to go. And when they're waiting for the bus, they're usually in the sun. That's a huge component, is allowing everyone to be able to move comfortably. There's a study that showed that women that were pregnant in a high canopied area versus low canopied area had a difference in birth weight. And again, birth weight is one of those factors we look at for long-term health and mental development for a person. I mean, it happens even before we're born that whether or not there are trees in our community is affecting it. And I think that everybody should have access to that. It shouldn't just be if you can afford to have a home or if you live in a nicer neighborhood. It really builds that sense of place, which the California Urban Forest Council uses the tagline, trees make the places we live feel like home. If ever there was going to be a time, departments are ready to participate. Our leadership within the city is on board with this as a solution and as an imperative. In order for people to continue to live here, we're going to have more trees, more shade, more green space, and maybe other different strategies like green walls and cool pavement. So with all of those things, it will be greener and more sustainable, better place to live.
Hey.
Hey.
How you doing? Julio, man. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure. Hi.
This is Freddie.
Freddie.
Anna Karen.
Anna Karen, nice to meet you.
Julio Soria has felt connected to nature for as long as he can remember. But that's not the case for a lot of youth in LA. This is why Julio works with the Community Nature Connection Program. He wants to empower kids from historically underserved communities to get in touch with nature by improving their access to the mountains, beaches, and urban parks that surround the city. Every Saturday, Julio and his colleague Anna Karen pick kids up from their neighborhoods, drive them out to the mountain or the coast, and run workshops with them about leadership and nature skills.
So we're about to pick up Abdias. He is one of the newest recruits that we're working with. And actually today's a pretty special day. It's his first day going to the beach ever.
Like ever?
Ever.
Not having seen the ocean before.
Correct.
Wow.
Living less than 20 miles from the coast.
Yeah.
With every youth program, it's like more than half of every youth. It's like their first time camping. Oh, there he is. First time camping, first time hiking, first time making s'mores.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
How's it going, AJ? How's it going, mate?
So is this your first time at the beach?
Yeah, this is my first time at the beach.
Yeah, cool.
You excited?
Sort of, yeah.
For Community Nature Connection, the biggest focus is on getting people to the mountains and the coast. And so one of the big barriers is proximity. A lot of folks don't have a vehicle to drive out to the mountains. We don't have adequate public transportation that can get people to the mountains or the coast. That's where our Transit to Trails comes in. That's a free bus program that picks up the community members, and then we'll take them to the coast. Look at that.
Oh, wow.
Look out there, AJ. Look out in front.
Oh, my God. That is a lot bigger than I expected. It's like a mirror.
Yeah, it's cool, huh?
Today's workshop is about tidal pools and the ecosystem of sea life found within them. The goal is not only to share new information, but to deepen these kids' understanding of the natural world that exists so close to where they live. It's not all concrete and cars in LA, but you kind of have to be able to leave your neighborhood to discover that. Am I right?
What do you think, man?
It's pretty nice.
Can you smell it? Like you can smell the salt water?
It smells so good.
Yeah.
So salty in the air. It's kind of different from watching it from TV, though.
All right, so welcome to the tide pools. Just mind your steps, both of you. It is slippery. Try not to step on the algae. That's probably the slipperier
That's the
part.
green stuff.
Yeah. This is what we call the intertidal zone. Pretty cool, huh?
Right here?
Yeah, so basically, this is like a really tough neighborhood like we have in LA. All the animals that live here are basically used to some extreme conditions. So half of the day they're underwater and the other half of the day they're like exposed to the sun and the air. Check it out, we got a little hermit crab in there. Just be careful. It's a little crab, he lives inside the shell. And it's safe to touch, just gently.
Try blowing on it and see it comes out a little bit. Yeah, you can put it back in the water at this point. I feel like we've tried building it too much now.
Pretty neat, right? I can confidently say that every youth that comes to this program ends up becoming a supporter and lover of nature, but some of them end up going to college when they weren't considering going to college at first. And some of them that were already on that college track end up changing majors into a sustainability or conservation major. And we have had many youth who have gained employment with local, regional, state, and federal park agencies.
The organization reaches more than 3,000 young people every year, 40 of whom are undergoing training to become guides or to pursue a career in the great outdoors. Through this program, kids get to see the ocean, often for the first time. And I have to admit, this is one aspect of life in LA I could get used to. The natural surroundings range from vast desert to mountainside forests to oceanfront beaches. So many options, really, if you want to get out of the city. And you should.
I didn't discover the Santa Monica Mountains until I started working with Community Nature Connection, so it meant a lot for me to be someone who was able to bring my community out to these areas, to experience them for the first time with these youth, and to be able to teach them and be able to connect with them a little bit more so that they know that this is ours as well.
Okay, so AJ, how cool is the ocean, dude?
This is like a little mind-blowing because I didn't expect there was like this much ocean.
Yeah.
It's too much of it.
Yeah, too much of it. I've lived here, I've worked here, I've come here a lot.
For me, LA will forever be cool and irreverent. It's really one of a handful of global cities that exists unto itself, with no regard for national borders or identity or your opinion of it. But LA is also this huge, lumbering, noisy industrial machine using hopelessly outdated technology. What happens when you look inside a machine like that? When you dismantle it, you find intricate working parts, beautifully designed and crafted by human hands, blissfully unaware of the totality of the over-engineered beast, often existing in spite of it. Like everywhere else, Los Angeles is its people, and they are clearly ready for change. It may be kind of slow, but they are embarking on their journey back to the future. My relationship with Los Angeles isn't only skin deep. This place has a deep, rich, multi-layered history. I like it when cultures mix. I like it when lines are blurred. So I chose a place for my next tattoo where Latino culture thrives, East LA. It's a reminder to me that future possibilities for this city, for its dreamers, are rooted in its diversity. All right, let's check it out. A little piece of LA right between Barcelona and Buenos Aires.